guys, it's Logan.
Hey, it's Wendell.
It's time to do the Windows 8 Survival Guide Part 1. The first thing we're going to do after we've gotten into the interface formerly known as Metro is go into the settings and change a few things.
Alright, so you want to move the mouse cursor to the lower right-hand corner here. These things pop up. Apparently, in the new terminology, these things are called charms.
Isn't that charming?
So, and then we want to go to change PC settings down here. So most of this is really just preferences. Like, this is not control panel. We'll get to control panel in a minute.
Yeah.
You can set your background for behind, whatever the Metro thing is. Big whoop. Doesn't really matter. There's some kind of important stuff buried in here. There's Microsoft account integration. You guys may be familiar with like Google, how you can have your bookmarks sync with Google, like you sign into Chrome and then it does all that. Well, they've basically built that into the operating system. There's a concept of a trusted computer where it'll actually sync your passwords and stuff like that, and an untrusted computer where it'll sync some things but not, quote-unquote sensitive things like your password.
Yeah, that can be handy if you're over at a friend's house and you want to have all your settings from Windows 8 on that machine, or if you're, at a public computer, or if you're at a computer that other people are going to have their grimy hands all over it, and you don't want the passwords to sync with that machine.
Yeah, it's kind of nice that everything is syncing, through your account, but it's also kind of disturbing because that means it's all on a server somewhere at Microsoft's office, so I probably wouldn't set that up. We'll probably cover that in another video.
Yeah, it can be handy.
Notifications. This is like tray pop-ups kind of thing, or the equivalent, I guess, of tray pop-ups, and you can pick which apps you want to get notifications from. Search. There's not a lot of options in search, just which apps can do a search app. In developer terminology, I think that they're calling this now the search contract. Does your program implement the search contract? And then you can... if it does, then from the regular built-in search screen, you can search stuff. So I guess that's okay.
Well, it's kind of handy. So, for example, the Alexander Reader program is not something that came with Windows 8, but I downloaded that. And the fact that that has the search built in will allow us, while searching, to look through the books that are contained within Alexander Reader.
Share is another thing. Like, sharing is built into the operating system now. So when you're in Metro and when you're at a picture in Metro Pictures and you want to share it, there's a hotkey for that. But you can also go to the charms and hit share from there. It's we have a little bit of trouble with the charms on the right hand side because we've actually got a monitor on the right and it doesn't seem like the cursor wants to snap to the corner. So that's a little irritating.
The easiest thing that you can do is press Window key C, and that will bring up your charms. So Window key C is a quick way to get there.
So you go to share, and it's like, well, this app can't share.
Right.
So, but if we could, well, we'll show you that later.
Yeah, we'll show you that later. And also, I want to mention before we move on, it says use these apps to share. Some of these apps are apps that we've added on, like Tweetro and StumbleUpon. If you add on a Facebook app, those will all appear here.
General is probably where you need to go first, honestly. I mean, you need to set the time zone, whether or not where you are observes daylight saving time. Switching between recent apps. This is like an app history that shows, programs that you've opened recently. And you can set when you swipe from the left edge, switch directly to your most recent app. I don't think this works on desktop, or it makes logical sense on the desktop, but this does work on the Asus Ultrabook, and it works really well. So, spelling, language, you can see how much space your PC is taking up. Refresh your PC without affecting your files. This is that feature that we read about a couple of months ago where you could basically, reinstall Windows without reinstalling Windows. These two options, remove everything and reinstall Windows. You can recycle your PC or start over completely and, get rid of everything. Or you can do this, and it'll basically do that, but you won't lose your photos, music, videos, and other personal files.
Right, and that can be handy if you get a virus or some malware. It's basically like the ultimate rollback.
And then Advanced Startup lets you boot from USB or DVD, change Windows startup settings, or restore Windows from a system image. So this is a very...
it's very clean and elegant, but also extremely useful.
Yeah. Privacy. So let apps use my location. No, we've turned that off. Let apps use my account name and picture. That was off by default, so we turned it off. And help improve Windows Store by sending URLs for the web content that apps use. We turned that off. Devices. There's sort of a new thing. This Windows Charm thing has got devices, and they're trying to organize stuff under here. We haven't really got to play with this much yet, but from what we understand, that when devices have special functions, you can access them here. So we've got two displays hooked up on this machine for this recording, And, so it's like, oh, do we want to duplicate it, extend it, second screen only, blah, 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 whatever.
Right.
But if you have a tablet or something like that, then maybe you get some tablet options over here. We're not real sure yet.
Yeah, we really need to play with this on tablet, so Microsoft might send me a Surface. I've been talking to them, who knows.
Ease of access, if you're vision impaired or hearing impaired, you can get a narrator, stuff like that. Sync your settings. This is a more fine-grained control of your Microsoft account stuff, so you can pick which things go where. Now, passwords will only sync if it's a trusted thing, and I think that there ought to be some kind of a note here for that. That's something that they may be missed in the user interface, but there is sort of a, is this a trusted computer or not distinction when you are syncing to, other computers.
Right, and this is one of the things that really sets this OS apart from the last OS, the fact that you can't sync.
Yeah,
and
that's a huge feature.
It's a huge feature and a huge step forward, and it's one of the best things about Windows 8.
Home groups, if you guys do home sharing, home group support's here. There's also some really neat Xbox features, which we'll show later, and then, Windows Update.
Right, we don't have an Xbox hooked up, but of course.
This is your start menu.
You have a lot of control over this. You can organize it, you can move things around, and that's the first thing you should do after you install all your programs. You should move things around. You can make some tiles larger, some tiles smaller, so make the ones that you like to use the most, make them bigger if you like. You can turn off the live if you want. Maybe you've got maybe your photos have lots of naked pictures in them, so you just want it to be like that because you don't want someone to walk in the room and see naked pictures scrolling through on your photos.
No. So you got to organize this thing. I mean, you're stuck with it. There are some alternatives. We're going to cover them, and this thing has some serious idiosyncrasies that are probably going to be fixed by the time Service Pack 1 rolls around. Yeah, we covered some of that in the last video, and we're going to go into some of that stuff a little bit in more detail. But for right now, we just want to get you up and running with Windows 8 the best we can using what we've got available. Once you get all your programs installed, you can just drag it and arrange your icons. It's actually pretty easy. So this is like little 2-column groups. If I want to drag this and do this kind of a thing, so
you'll see the light gray pillar, and now you've just made a new group.
Yeah. So this is pretty easy. Now you can take this a step further for organization too. There's a minus symbol in the lower right hand corner here. You can click that, and this zooms out so you can see all your groups. You can right click on one of these and name them.
Well, you just made a new one there with Chrome and Internet Explorer. Why don't we call that one, I don't know, Internet Stuff or something? This keyboard's difficult to type on once you go from a Model M.
Yeah, I'm at a weird angle.
Intertubes. Okay. And then you have to click Enter or click on Name again, and there you're done. And when you click on that, it'll take you right there. Blam. So we just created Intertubes.
Yeah, so if you have a lot of these and you don't want to scroll from one side to the other, you can hit the little minus symbol and scroll over there. There's probably a hotkey for that. Windows C brings up the charms. You can also search for programs. So if I want to search for Chrome, that works. The search works a little differently than in Windows 7.
A little differently? A lot differently. We'll get into that in just a minute, though. But yeah, search is going to be quite different.
If you remember from the settings that we did earlier, these are all the programs that were part of that quote-unquote search contract that we mentioned. So you can search the store and search mail and search Reader and stuff like that. So this is a little sketchy right now, though, because I've got the Office Preview installed, and for some reason Outlook's not an option, and if I select Mail, I can't search Outlook. So that's probably still, that version of Office is in beta, so it's still a little weird because it's new, so I wouldn't count on it, but it's there. So there are shortcut keys for dealing with this stuff on the Start menu now. Win Q to search for apps or search through apps, and so like Chrome. For settings, it's going to be Win W.
Which makes a lot of sense. W and S.
Yeah, I don't know.
It seems a little arbitrary, but I guess you'll get used to it over time. Window key W equals settings.
It seems like they're picking letters that are on the left side of the keyboard in order that you don't have to take your right hand off of the mouse.
That's exactly how I do my configs for Quake Live and games like that. All my if I want to get out my shotgun, it's like Q. If I want my rocket launcher, that's E.
Yeah, so the shortcut keys seem a little arbitrary, but because you don't have to take your right hand off the mouse, maybe it makes sense.
There's a learning curve, but if you get used to it, it'll be quick.
So Win F searches your files, and so if I search for the letter A, then it's going to show me everything that's letter A, and it gives me these categories at the top too. It shows me everything, documents, pictures, other. So that's kind of neat.
Now let's talk about pinning things to the Start area and also to your desktop taskbar. First thing you want to do is look at all of your applications, and you get there by pressing Control-Tab. This is everything on your computer. This can be an overwhelming list if you've installed a lot of things. Let's say we want to put Photoshop on our main page. So we right-click on it, and on the bottom you can pin to start. That's going to pin it to the interface formerly known as Metro. Now let's say you want this also on your desktop. Right-click and pin to taskbar, and that works just like Windows 7. Now here in the start, it adds it all the way to the end, and you can drag it and put it wherever you want. We've created a group earlier named Adobe mostly, so we're going to throw it there. And there it is, blam. And now let's take a look at the desktop, and right down on the taskbar, just like Windows 7, it is also there. So this is going to allow you to easily organize all of your programs and icons. I'm sure some of the guys at Microsoft knew that it was incredibly stupid to take away the start button from Windows, from the Windows desktop. So what they've allowed us to do here is right-click on the start, and then we have a ton of stuff that we can do here. Programs and features, your power options, event viewer. System, this is the same information that you would get if you were to right-click on My Computer in Windows 7 and click Properties. You can also get to System by pressing Window key and the pause button, which is up on the top right of most of your keyboards. There's a Device Manager, Disk Management, very handy when you install new hard drives, Computer Management, two versions of the command prompt there, one for admin, Task Manager, Control Panel, File Explorer, which is like the Windows Explorer from the days of old, Search, and Run. Good old school Run.
Yeah, Run since Windows 95.
There it is.
Wow.
Yeah, I use Run a lot. So that's kind of making up from the lack of start button. It's still completely stupid of Microsoft not to have a start button.
You can also get to this with Control or with Window X.
Yeah, Window X is the way to really do it. You can get to it from anywhere, even inside of the interface formerly known as Metro. Now let's talk about the performance of this machine overall. As you can see here, this is a fast machine, but all these animations can make things a little sluggish. See, it flips out. Some people like the way it looks, but when you close something, you grab the top and drag it to the bottom, and look at the lag. It was following us. It was way behind where we were, and that's because of all the animations. So if you want to turn those off, you press Window key X, open up this, and click on System. From here, you click on Advanced System Settings, and then under Performance, you click Settings, and just uncheck anything that says Animate. You can uncheck Enable Peak, uncheck the fading. You can leave the fade out menus because that happens after you click. Anything that happens after you click is not going to feel like lag. You can turn it off if you want to as well, but now watch how much snappier this is. We're going to go back through the same thing. Blam, opened up, grabbing it, throwing it away.
It does it after you go like past 50%, I guess.
Because it doesn't know where you're going to put it.
Yeah, because this is so much more convenient than a close button.
Yeah, ooh, an X button is terrible. We'd rather grab and drag it to the bottom. Now, of course, this is stupidity that's just in Metro because Metro was not made for a desktop. And you can always use Alt F4 to get out of the programs quickly. And when you're using a desktop program, like go ahead and open up something like Chrome or whatever, you still have maximize, minimize, and the close buttons up in the top right corner. Thank God. And you can still use your shortcut keys, which are Window key left, Window key right, Window key up, to move it around on the screen.
There's some cool stuff that comes with Windows 7 that's not installed by default. I guess it's for power users, or not really sure why. But you can get to Programs and Features.
It's Window X.
And go to turn Windows features on or off.
Now, a lot of people don't even know that's there, and it's always been there.
Yeah, it had. I mean, it's all the way back to Vista, I think it's been there.
And it's really, really handy. So let's go through these and talk about some of the ones that you should turn on and learn how to use.
Yeah, if you're a developer, it's got Internet Information Services. This is Microsoft's web server. Just look through this. There's some neat stuff in here. I turned on a Hyper-V. This lets you run virtual machines. It's almost like a Windows server, but you can run a Linux virtual machine or a Windows XP virtual machine. It's not like Windows XP mode. Windows 8 doesn't seem to have Windows XP mode, but you can.
It has a lot of the compatibility features, but it doesn't explicitly have Windows XP mode.
Yeah, but you can run virtual machines with it, and so this is really nice, assuming your hardware supports it. I also enabled the Telnet client. That wasn't enabled by default, and the TFTP client, which is useful for programmery things and flashing firmwares on this, that, and the other. There's one other thing I installed, which is the Windows TIFF iFilter, and this enables OCR recognition from TIFF files. So if you've got a fax server or whatever and you want to do OCR, I guess that's what that does. So look through this and see if there's any features that you use or want or whatever, and do that. Okay, so backup is important, otherwise you're going to lose all your crap. There's two programs that are part of that. The first one, I'm going to do backup. And then I've got to click settings here because...
That makes a lot of sense. Oh, that's so much easier. God, that's so stupid.
Yeah, it's just...
Search sucks in Windows 8.
Yeah, they're going to change it, I guarantee you.
Yeah, because we're going to complain so much.
Okay, so we've got saved backup copies of your files with file history. File history, I think, is a combination of shadow copy and some other built-in Windows backup. It wants you to save to an external hard drive. That's the easiest thing for Windows. But if you're a power user or you've got home groups or on a corporate network, whatever, you can also use network location. You can select a drive. You can select folders to exclude. You can also go into advanced settings and say, how often do we want to save copies of files, the size of the offline cache, keep the saved versions forever. If you're going to join a home group, things like that. There's also another new option in Windows 8. You know how your C drive fills up sometimes? It's like, oh, I should have got a bigger drive or whatever.
Especially with SSDs these days.
Yeah. This thing will let you add multiple drives, and when you add multiple drives, it will extend your C drive onto the other drive. And so part of your C drive will live on one drive and part of your C drive will live on another, but it'll show up as one big empty storage pool.
Right, it'll be like several physical drives will make up one logical drive inside the computer.
Yeah, we need to verify this, but it's advertised as supporting SSDs also as what's called a backing store, which means you could add a whole bunch of mechanical 2 terabyte hard drives to this thing, get some redundancy, and then add an SSD as a backing store, and it would use the SSD for caching, kind of like the Intel caching system, and put your frequently used data on there and that kind of thing, but it's managed by Windows. This is really similar to the ZFS thing that Apple was going to come out with, or that Apple came out with, where you could just add a whole bunch of mismatched hard drives and the system would automatically optimize, and you get the best of performance with like a RAID 1 type situation where you're reading from multiple drives at the same time, but also redundancy, but without having to have matched drives that are purchased up front and together. There's one other really cool feature that we found in Windows 8, and that's the monitor ClearType calibration wizard. Now, a lot of you guys out there are probably running IPS panels, really high quality displays. ClearType, I think, was originally designed for really cheap TN displays, but this ClearType text tuner is almost like an eye exam for your monitor. You run this, and this will help Windows pick the best ClearType settings, not only for your monitor, but for you. It'll run you through a whole bunch of different text options. It's like, okay, I'm going to change, I'm going to keep current resolution, that's fine. And so click the text sample that looks best to me. It's like 1 or 2. Okay, that one looks better. On this monitor, that one looks better. This one. That one.
Man, some of these are hard to tell.
Yeah, it's really close. Okay, so done. Now ClearType has been tuned for this monitor. This is really neat, and it actually did make things a lot more legible. So the other video, we had some complaints, and we'd like to show more in detail what specifically our complaints are, because we glossed over some stuff and we did some stuff wrong because we'd been playing with Windows 8 for a little while. We're running it on a test desktop and a test laptop, top of the line ZenBook, top of the line desktop. There are some issues, and we just want to show you the kind of stuff that you're in for. The desktop experience with Windows 8 so far has been really good. We are seeing better startup times, better shutdown times. It seems to be more stable in that, like for device drivers, it requires signed device drivers, and it won't accept unsigned device drivers and things like, because we had the Roland doesn't have a signed device driver, so we had to hack that in there.
That's our microphone.
Yeah. So it's very bad.
We're using if you see the test mode in the corner, that's because we had to hack the drivers for our microphone.
Yeah, that's just really sad. But this is, the full retail release copy of Windows 8, and this is what people are going to be getting, and a lot of these features in here is like, oh, we're simplifying the experience. And if that were true, then they should have put more work into making it so that computer novices would have an easier time and blah, blah, blah. But, that's an argument, and we just want to show you some things that we found in testing that sort of back up the other video and that are maybe questionable in terms of user interface, things that get on my nerves,
you're saying questionable. They really annoy the hell out of me.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like a tablet, like this could be a really solid tablet operating system, but on the desktop, I just don't, unless you're like dock the Metro app to the left side or the right side and then work on the desktop for most of your monitor real estate. I don't really, where Metro is right now, I don't see it on the desktop.
Frankly, I don't see any reason why you should have Metro on a desktop computer.
Also,
it makes absolutely no sense.
I think that one thing that they'll do is have icon groups in Metro. Like, there'll be, because like Putty, which is a remote access program, it installs a bunch of little utilities for things. I'd like to see a Putty group where, I can run Putty from here, but I've got another icon that I click on it, and, it spawns a whole bunch more icons from
Maybe
here.
it moves camera over to the right and spawns several of them there, and then it goes back when it's done.
Yeah, I mean, that would fit with this paradigm and be less annoying than, hitting, Control-Tab or searching for, putty related apps and then picking which one I want. We're still doing some testing on Windows 8. This is only part 1. We got some benchmarks and stuff like that coming up. So far, the Windows 8 desktop experience is great, except for the whole start menu shenanigans.
The whole interface formerly known as Metro is just a mess.
Yeah, it's
on the desktop.
It could be a good tablet interface. Like I really don't hate it. I may be able to get used to it. I'm going to try to use it for a couple of weeks and see if I can get used to it. It has little weird idiosyncrasies, and there's a lot of stuff that I feel like they're going to fix in Service Pack 1. But we are seeing faster startup times, faster shutdown times. Things seem more stable so far. We're running it on a desktop and a top of the line Ultrabook. Stay tuned. We'll keep you posted and let you know. But I just want to run through some of the fun stuff with search, because last time we were doing a search and it was like, oh, there's nothing here for printers. Well, there is, and that was kind of an oops. But this is different than Windows 7, and I'm not really sure that this change is for the better. So it's not showing any printer stuff. You have to click on settings, or you have to click on files.
Oh, come on, it's worse than what you're making it sound nice. That's terrible. It's absolutely ridiculous compared to Windows 7. In Windows 7, you type printer, all of the things will come up under different headings.
Yes, everything is grouped on the left side by this. Most user interface experts would tell you that presenting the user with basically a blank screen is a bad idea. Now, it's interesting when there are results, but not the one you want. So if you search for Notepad and you hit the down arrow key, guess where the cursor goes? It goes over there. If you've got 1 or 2 results and you hit the down arrow key, it goes over there. But if you look for printer and you hit the down arrow key, it does stuff
it's controlling over there.
Yeah, so that's kind of weird. I don't really understand that.
Yeah. It's hard to get used to one way or the other. It's kind of a mess.
Yeah, let's search files for the letter A. Okay. So there's a lot of files that start with the letter A. Now, you guys can't see it, but I am rolling the crap out of the mouse wheel.
You're just scrolling and scrolling, but it's not going anywhere right now. Why is it not going anywhere? Because the search, interface on the right is still on the screen. However, if you click on the screen anywhere else, it goes away, and now you can scroll.
And I feel like it's like, oh, wait, I didn't mean to search for A, I meant to search for B. So I'm going to hit WinF again and search for the letter B. And I can't scroll anymore.
Now, this is, most of the stuff inside Metro will scroll when you're hovering over top of it, but not the search. The search will not scroll when your mouse is hovering over top of it. For instance, here, the weather. Whatever you're hovering over top of in the weather scrolls.
Yeah, and it's an interesting bug in the weather application in that we're scrolling. Oh, now we're over something else that scrolls. And
it's just annoying. It can be very annoying because you wanted to go all the way over here and look at this ad. Why the hell is there an ad? I don't know. There's an ad inside of the OS. Inside one of the apps made by Microsoft, there's a freaking ad. Why is there an ad in the OS? That's another thing that bothers me.
So the other thing that I had trouble getting used to, and I didn't even realize I was doing it, it was totally subconscious, is when you move the cursor to the lower left-hand corner and you get this pop-up, I was instinctively wanting to click on the center of it, but if you don't click in the pixel that is absolutely all the way in the lower left-hand corner, it disappears. So it's like, okay, and it was like, what am I doing wrong? And it was just happening subconsciously. I had no idea. So I'm trying to retrain myself to click on the pixel without, but I haven't gotten used to that, and it's driving me insane.
It's really, really annoying. It's like I'm trying to click on the thing, but it keeps going away. Where's the thing to click on?
The other thing that my monitor configuration, I guess, is kind of unique. My main monitor has monitors to the left, right, and above it.
You have 6 monitors, 2 in the center and 4 around the sides.
Yeah, and so my main start menu is on the bottom, and so all these things where I go to a corner is really hard because I can't just throw the mouse into a corner. I'm throwing the mouse into another monitor.
Yeah, and what he's saying here is if you're running multiple monitors, it's going to be a headache trying to get to the corner to click on some of these things. You're going to end up using the shortcut keys, and if you don't want to use the shortcut keys, or if there's no shortcut key for what you're trying to get to, then screw you.
In Metro, see how the hand cursor is changing? Because I've got a monitor above my main monitor where I'm running Metro, I literally have one pixel that I have to hit in order to get the hand icon to drag this thing down. So I'm just using Alt F4 for everything. Another thing about this whole drag down to close thing, that feels an awful lot like mouse gestures. You guys remember mouse gestures? They were all the rage for about 20 minutes 5 years ago. It was where you could move your mouse in a circle and it would move your browser back and things like that. It didn't catch on then. I'm not really sure this kind of thing.
Yeah, I had mine. If I wrote the word onomatopoeia, it would open up Chrome.
Yeah,
but that was really annoying. They found out that it was just easier to click on Chrome than to write onomatopoeia.
I could see how with like a touchpad that maybe that this type of a gesture, like if you put your finger above the touchpad and you swipe onto the touchpad, that's a real fast, easy thing to do to close a program. But with a mouse, I'm not really sure that makes sense.
Maybe Microsoft's ahead of the game, and maybe they're moving into like territory that is beyond the mouse. But I don't think the desktop is quite there yet.
The more that I use this, the more that I think that it might be kind of nice to have a touchpad position for the left hand. So you're using a mouse with your right hand and a touchpad with the left hand, and you're doing some of these gestures and things like that with the left hand, which is maybe easier to do. I mean, it's clear in the shortcuts, the shortcut keys that Microsoft has chosen, like win this, win that, win whatever, that they're trying to pick keys that are mostly on the left side of the keyboard, so you can have one hand on the keyboard and one hand on the mouse. But for left-handed people, it's really irritating.
All these things are just to make up for the fact that the Metro interface was not designed for the desktop. And this is all because they're trying to force the Metro interface on us, which is really weird, and they just won't give us a start button. I just want a freaking start button. Speaking of start menus, what do you have there, Wendell?
Okay, so if you have to have the start menu, I'm going to try to live with whatever this is now, the interface formerly known as Metro, or whatever the hell it's called.
There's no way in hell that I can live with the interface formerly known as Metro. I need a start button.
Yeah, we tried a couple of different solutions. The Starduck was the one that won. The close runner-up was ViStart.
Yeah, ViStart looked a lot like the Windows 7 start menu, but it didn't have the functionality. It just wasn't there.
So you got to go here and download this. You got to give them your email address, which is kind of crappy, but whatever. I've already put it on the desktop here. It's like, oh, you want to run this? Yeah, that's fine.
We're going to install Start 8. Now, this is something that's been out for a little while, and it's made, the CEO really of Stardock was like, I cannot live without the start button. It's just absurd. So there we are. We have our start button now, and look what it's done. It's taken Metro, or the interface formerly known as Metro, and it's sort of squished it all down. But we still have to deal with the strange search mechanism of Metro. It makes absolutely no sense, but it's much nicer because instead of interrupting the entire screen with a massive interface formerly known as Metro, we now have it all contained here. So it's more usable in my opinion, but it's still not a true start button. I have no idea why Microsoft took it out. The registry hack no longer works like it used to work in like the developer previews and that sort of thing. And we have different sizes that we can pick here. Here, watch this thing in action. You can see the icons in the background. They're really big and then they're getting small. Do you see that for a millisecond there?
Yeah, for a split second you get the tiles and then it just switches to all apps.
Yeah, so it's actually taking the Metro interface and squishing it. That's what's happening. And this is kind of cool here because if you click on the minus button in the bottom right corner, we actually have program groups, and these program groups are similar to the program groups that you would have in Windows 7 or any previous version of Windows. However, when you click on them, go ahead and click on Putty. It'll open up all of your apps, but it'll center the screen right on Putty. So these are all kind of hacked workarounds, but they do make the operating system experience a lot better, for me, on a desktop.
The thing it does is on log on, it goes to the desktop. And honestly, if I used it for anything, for now, that's probably what I'd use it for. I'll probably still do the full screen Metro so that you can still get, the full screen. But at least on startup, it'll take me here, which is somewhere familiar.
Yeah, it's where you should be on a desktop computer, on the desktop.
I could be an old fart, but I could also just want to cut the crap and get the work done.
So that pretty much sums it up. That's part one of our survival guide. If we come up with any more things, or if you guys have questions, please send them to inbox@techsyndicate.com or put them in the comments on Tech Syndicate. There's so many comments on YouTube, I never have time to read them all, but I'll try to go through the comments on Tech Syndicate whenever I have time. Also, we are going to be doing some benchmarks with gaming, benchmarks with productivity software, benchmarks with 3D rendering and that sort of thing, and we'll let you guys know if this is faster than Windows 7. I think it will be faster than Windows 7.
Yeah, we've been running this also on an Ultrabook. We've mentioned a couple of times, and the performance on the Ultrabook has been very, very impressive. Startup, shutdown, sleep, wake, all that stuff seems way faster, way more stable. The touchpad is unbelievably responsive. The Ultrabook we've got has an Elan touchpad, and so the gestures and stuff like that. Had to jump through some hoops with the drivers, but once we got it working, it is so much faster and so much more responsive than on Windows 7. It's really impressive.
It almost makes the interface formerly known as Metro. It almost makes that make sense.
Yeah. So we're going to try to put this together in such a way that if you're feeling adventurous, that you guys can give Windows 8 a try, but like the rule of thumb with most Microsoft operating systems is it's usually ready around Service Pack 1. That may be true of Windows 8 as well. It's too early to tell. We're going to use it for a couple of weeks, but these are our first looks. These are the videos we're putting together to give you as we,
Yeah, right now I kind of, frankly, I hate it and I love it at the same time. I love a lot of the new features, and I hate all the hoops that I have to jump through. So that's where I am with this. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Okay, so and then we want to go to change PC settings down here. Yeah, awesome.
You weren't expecting that.
No.
Yeah. I didn't think.
Know what I mean, Vern?
Yeah, I put the troll face up for you. But we're going old school.
Oh, God.